Our son Benjamin has the ATR-X syndrome, which is alpha thalassemia X-linked intellectual disability syndrome.
A genetic mutation is when there is a change in the sequence of the genetic material.
You, I, everyone we know have got a mutation in a gene that wasn't present in our parents. Sometimes if they hit an important piece of clockwork, that they can have catastrophic effect.
So the syndrome for us keeps my son from walking. It keeps him from moving his body in the way that he wants to move his body.
The commonest problem is severe learning difficulty. At the profound end, and most children are pretty severe. Some of the children die in early childhood. That's usually under the age of 5.
Benjamin had hypotonia from birth, which I had no experience with. We just again thought he was tired and, had a rough time of being born early and all of that. But he was floppy. Couldn't hold his head up and just really felt like a sack of potatoes. When you would hold him, he just kind of slipped through your hands if you weren't careful.
Doing so much to just, it felt like, keep him alive.
Had we known or looked at it a little differently, maybe we would have engaged early intervention and genetics earlier on because the signs were clearly there. I remember trying to get him to look at the buttons and the music that was playing and the toys that were there, and he wouldn't look at them. And instead he was staring off to this picture wall that we have in our home. I remember having some thoughts of sadness, and I think that was me probably logically realizing that something was wrong. You always want to think and believe and know that your child is okay. And so I think for me it was just very hard, scary.
I never thought we'd get a diagnosis. I just assumed that something had happened and we would just work through it. We did all these genetic tests. I remember telling Jennifer, they won't find anything. It's one of these weird things and we're just gonna have to figure it out. And it was just before his 2nd birthday when we finally got that diagnosis and we said, wow, this is crazy.
So there have been major advances in genetic sequencing that have allowed now when children present with these kind of developmental delays or physical abnormalities in which physicians think that there is a genetic cause, they can do whole genome sequencing and they can sequence through the genome and find where there are mutations in the gene.
I started the research in 1990 to try and identify what the cause of a rare condition that gave rise to severe learning difficulties and a condition called alpha thalassemia. Over the next 5 years, we were able to narrow down that the gene was on the X chromosome and then finally actually identify the gene on the X chromosome that was responsible for the condition.
We had a pretty exciting advancement in 2019 when AAV gene therapy was approved by the FDA as a treatment for a neurodegenerative disease known as spinal muscular atrophy. And now with this approval and the availability of AAV gene therapy that's actually on the market for infants, this has further invigorated the use of this tool for inherited pediatric neurological disorders.
There's some very interesting research in Japan at the moment where they made a mouse model of ATR-X syndrome and treated mice with a drug called 5-ALA. And they showed actually the mice improved who had an ATR-X mutation improve their performance when they were on the drug.
There's so much going on in the world of genetics. Most people would have no idea if they don't have to live this every day.
We're feeling very blessed that they see a path through, a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. Not an easy tunnel to go through, but still a light at the end, no less.
As far as cures are concerned, that's a real tough ask because, many different systems are affected in this condition, and you would need to get, the gene therapy to affect in all the affected cells. And that's getting gene therapy into the appropriate targets is really hard. The other question is whether there are drug treatments that might be specific for this condition.
Advancing this research doesn't just help ATR-X syndrome, it'll help that much more. And I think as a society, we should really start to try to help these rare diseases. The more we can do for the people in need, the better the world will be.